Welcome to Critical Junction Episode 2. I'm Mark,
I'm Jose.
and since it's October, we thought it would be fun to talk about the paranormal, since we're getting closer to Halloween and whatnot. Guess we could have waited a couple of weeks to do this one, but
Why not start it now?
might as well just go for it now.
Mm.
So yeah, paranormal. I guess start off with something that happened to me when I was maybe, it was either 12 or 13 years old or something. A friend and I were hanging out in my backyard in Elmer, playing with a Ouija board because that's, I guess, what normal 12 or 13-year-olds do. And after a while of getting kind of no results, we finally made contact with something, in air quotes. So we asked for a name. The thing pointed at all the letters spelling out the name Emily. And we asked how old she was when she died. Told us 11. So asked a couple of other random questions, and after a while we decided to test this supposed spirit because, why not? Let's see if this is legit, right?
Uh-huh.
So we ask it to prove itself somehow. Nothing happens. We say goodbye, end the whole session, go about our business. And a few hours later, my dad, who had been out of earshot for the entire duration of this experience, finally comes up to us and he's like, "Did she find you?" Like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Yeah, there was a little girl walking around looking for you guys just a few hours ago. Did she find you?" Like, what? Did she happen to tell you her name? And he's like, "Yeah, Emily." Like, what the fuck?
Freaky. All right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know what to make of that, but that's been something at the back of my mind ever since it happened.
So your dad actually saw whatever it was.
Yeah.
Introduced herself as Emily, as a little girl, and I mean, it sounds like you guys were about the same age. So, wow, that raises a lot of questions.
It
really.
does. Yeah, I have no idea what it, but yeah, he's like, this little girl was looking for you guys just a little while ago, and he was, like I said earlier, he was completely out of earshot for the entire thing. We were out in the backyard. I think he was in the basement doing something, so there was no way he could have heard us. And even if he did, I'm not sure if we said the name out loud or anything. Again, this happened so long ago that the specifics of the memory aren't there anymore. But yeah, that.
And your dad still remembers it the same way? I mean,
I haven't talked to him about it ever since it happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was
Out of fear or out of like...
I think so. Partly out of fear, also partly out of the fact that I don't want to ruin this story, I guess. Because it's, it's cool, it's unexplained, I don't know what it was. Being the skeptic that I am, there's no way for me to get to the bottom of this. Unless I ask my dad, and turns out he was just fucking with us for the whole time. Which would be kind of heartbreaking in a way, but, that would answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. At least. Yeah. Would be hilarious if your dad did do it, but, whether he comes out and actually tells you, you won't know until then, but it's probably a conversation you should have with your dad at some point.
Probably, yeah. Well, if he hears this podcast, maybe he'll post in the comments about what actually happened, which would be kind of funny. But yeah, that was my first experience with the paranormal.
First experience. Okay, let's hear the second one.
The second one was when I was in New Orleans. We were doing one of those touristy haunted walk things.
Okay.
And we're somewhere on Bourbon Street, and the tour guide is telling us a story of how somebody at one of the upper levels either committed suicide or was murdered or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but this person had died in a particular room, and he pointed at the room itself, at the window.
Okay.
It was completely black. There were no lights on or anything. And one of the other people in the group, while he's telling the story, takes a picture of that window on her digital camera.
Okay.
And shows us the photo. And there's this... You're familiar with orbs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a huge orb in the window. I don't know what it was.
The orbs theory.
The orbs theory. I mean, it could have been a dust particle. It could have been some other, typical experience, but...
And that's usually what they affiliate it to, right? You take a picture, and it's usually a dust particle just floating in the air that you catch and just kind of, resembles an orb. But, unless you got video proof, a picture really doesn't tell you much. But, when you look at videos and you see these orbs flying around, it kind of... You question it, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It makes it harder to kind of describe what you're looking at. So
it was weird. It was massive. It took up, I want to say, about 3/4 of the window frame.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like bright, and there was nothing. There was nothing in the window whenever she took the photo.
Hmm.
And this wasn't a reflection of the flash or anything because we were across the street from the building,
Yeah.
and it was far enough away that it couldn't have. And just from the angle that it was taken to,
Yeah.
it did not look like a flash
What
reflection.
time during the day? Like, it must have been in the evening sometime.
Yeah, it was. I want to say like 8 or 9 at night.
Hmm.
Either way, it was in the evening. Sun was set by then.
Yeah, and like maybe a street light or something couldn't have reflected it.
It did not look like a street light.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And of course, it happened in New Orleans, where everything weird happens.
That's usually the place if you want to go for hauntings and.
Like my theory about that one is the girl who took the photo may have been a plant. She may have been part of the tour just to fuck with people.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, look what I just took," and scare everybody. Yeah, I don't know. It was creepy.
Sounds like it. Yeah, I mean, I already kind of went over my paranormal experiences in the last podcast, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But yeah, as far as another experience during that time, I talked to you about the outer body experience. That's a little bit different than the whole paranormal thing, but related in a sense that, for me, the way it happened is, basically watching myself sleep, and I wake up and it's kind of like, yeah, you get that kind of feeling that something else is going on. So whether it's paranormal or not, it's hard to describe, right? But
yeah, and you mentioned that you mentioned a couple of like specific details during this out of body experience.
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, to explain it, I guess fully, starts off with me sleeping. I wake up and I'm walking through. I guess it was a small apartment, so like where I was living at before, and walking through the hallway into the living room, look out the balcony, and I'm watching these people move into the building, and then I make my way back into my bedroom and I'm watching myself sleep. So that's where it was kind of a shock moment, and snapped out of it after like 30 seconds of me watching myself sleep. And when I woke up, basically the first thought for me was look out the window. And as I did, I'm watching the same people moving into the building. So, it was definitely a kind of a weird experience to go through. How it happened, I mean, it's not like I was in some deep meditation, moment at that time. So it's really hard to explain that one to kind of whether it was a dream or one of those, what do you call it? Like a premonition type of thing. Can't explain it. I wouldn't say it's,
That's just weird.
it's just weird, right?
I've never had an out of body experience. That's something that I've always wanted to have happen to me, but nothing. That's never happened.
Yeah, it's definitely something that if you were to go through it, I mean, for me, I thought I was dreaming, but the fact that, when I looked out the balcony and saw the same people moving into the building, that's where it kind of raised more questions for me, and I still can't make out what to think of it, right? So,
Did you hear them moving in? Is it possible you may have heard something while you were asleep that
well,
kind of
that's
led
the
to this?
thing. When I was watching them, I clearly remember there being no sound. So it wasn't until I actually woke up, like after I saw myself sleeping and I woke up, all of a sudden I heard noises. And that's where, like, I had to check my window just to look out, and I see the same people moving in. So I don't know. I mean, yes, it could have been, me dreaming and listening to my surroundings and, making the whole thing as a dream.
Technical glitch. Let's just keep going, I guess. Yeah, because I've had kind of dreams where something in the background is influencing what's happening to me, and then I wake up and whatever's going on in the background influences what I'm dreaming about, and then I wake up and kind of things kind of meld into one another. But I guess that's one of the more common explanations of an out of body experience, but something to the degree that you went through. That's I don't know what that is.
I don't know either, so still can't explain it. But definitely another experience for me, and that was during the same month that my sister was away. So if you remember from the last podcast, she was away, and I was being kind of terrorized by the paranormal. How I would say, I guess, but had that outer body experience during the same time
Oh, this
frame.
happened during the same time?
Time frame, yeah. So it was within that month that it happened, and so my sister came back. I was more than happy to have her back, but
if anyone listening doesn't know what Jose is referring to, go back to our first podcast and listen to the, I'd say, last quarter of it. Goes into a lot of detail about particular paranormal activity that took place in that apartment, so worth listening to.
Yeah, so stay away from Alta Vista Towers.
Stay away from
not the best place to live in there anyway. So, but
crazy. Yeah. See, what I don't understand why a lot of people put so much faith in quote unquote paranormal investigators, and this is, they were really popular a few years ago with all these shows on of all places, like what? Do you remember what networks aired them?
It's a good question. I actually don't remember now. But you're talking about like ghost hunters and things like that. Yeah, no, I don't know. But must have been like A&E, if anything.
I think so. Yeah, I think A&E was. Anyway, like they rely very heavily on their EMF detectors, their electromagnetic field detectors, which is completely patently absurd because everything emits electromagnetic radiation. You can walk around with one of these things and it'll just keep going off.
Yeah.
Right? It could be caused by anything from bad insulated wires or, just anything. A TV nearby, a lamp, anything will set these things off depending on how sensitive they are.
For sure.
So this is, I don't know why they think it's a way of detecting ghosts or whatever.
It's probably their closest way of trying to figure it out, right? But
sure. But if they just did a little bit of basic science and understood the concept behind electromagnetic fields and how these things are calibrated,
Well, that's why most of these shows would be staged, right? I mean, maybe it's just a way to kind of show people that they're trying to prove this, but I mean,
it's complete pseudoscience.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean, how can you prove something like this? I mean, there is no way to actually provide any sort of evidence to say that, ghosts are real or the paranormal exists and all that.
I think that's pretty much what I'm getting at. Like, there is no way to conclusively prove or provide any kind of evidence to support the existence of anything paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And believing something in blind faith like that, or just claiming, I 100% believe that there is an afterlife or that ghosts are real, and you can't question that belief because it's something I hold of extreme value to myself personally.
Yeah.
That can sometimes be very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't. If it brings comfort to someone, then fine. But don't go around trying to convince other people that what you believe is a fact about the universe.
Yeah, very true.
Because we don't know what happens when we die. Well, some people claim they do, but I'm perfectly fine not knowing. I don't want to delude myself into thinking that something might be waiting for me after death, because in all probability there isn't.
Yeah.
Some people are afraid of what happens after death, and Penn Jillette, I think it might have been Penn Jillette. His response to that was, "Are you afraid of what happened to you before you were born? You didn't exist then. You won't exist after you die. What's there to be afraid of?"
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, it's the fear of, the end of your own consciousness.
Yeah.
That can be terrifying to some people.
Of course. Well, it's terrifying to a lot of people. I mean, I myself, I used to hate celebrating my birthday for that very reason, just because you feel like you're getting older, you're getting wiser, and knowing that at some point it will end. I mean, it's scary to go through it, especially as a kid. I mean, you think, you overanalyze things, you overthink things, and you just don't want to grow up and grow old and go through the whole process of death. Everybody's afraid of it. You don't know what's going to happen, so of course, there's a fear to not knowing.
Do you remember the first time you made the realization that your life will eventually end?
Yeah. I was pretty young. I think I was only like 8, 9, 10 years old maybe, but that's when it was like, basically I didn't want to celebrate my birthdays anymore after coming to that conclusion that one day I'm just not going to be around anymore. So
yeah, I think everyone eventually has that moment of realization. Sometimes it comes at a very young age. Sometimes it takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
But I think for me it happened in I think it was in elementary school, like first grade or something, maybe close to that. I realized all of a sudden that I won't be here forever, and that terrified me. I had this weird anxiety about, life in general for a few weeks until I kind of settled down and went back to being a kid again. I think that might have been also what kind of sparked my interest in things like the paranormal or the supernatural and stuff like that. Conversely, as I grew older, I started to place less emphasis on things like the supernatural and kind of swung more towards science and reason and rationality.
More logic than anything.
Because it provides a better framework with which to analyze the universe.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. That was my paranormal experience. Another one kind of happened. We were on the haunted walk here in Ottawa.
Yes.
Where they take you through the old jail.
The old prison. Yeah.
We did that on Halloween, which is awesome because it's, they're adding in all these other stories they don't normally do. But eventually we stopped in front of one cell and they're telling a story about how I guess someone may have died in that cell or something, and then they shut up and just there's this moment of silence, and all of a sudden the bed inside the cell just kind of jumps and everyone screams. I thought, yay, I'm having another paranormal experience. This is exactly what I wanted to have happen on Halloween at a ghost walk. Cool. So eventually we go downstairs and we're in a, it's where everyone else ends up at the end of the tour. I'm talking about what just happened, and I overhear somebody off to my side talking about the exact same thing. I'm like, fuck.
Staged.
They staged this. Why would you do that? Well, I guess
part of the haunted walk.
Yeah. But that just pissed me off. Like, why?
But, I mean, that just goes to show you that anybody can be fooled by these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, initial thought, of course, you're going to relate it to paranormal, supernatural, whatever it is. And then once you realize and start thinking logically, I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. It fooled me.
Of course. It can fool anybody. I mean,
Yeah, like, oh my god, everything I thought was real is not true. There are ghosts. What am I going to do with my life? Wait a minute. No. No, that was staged. Which is unfortunate, I guess. Because, ever since that first experience I told you about with the Ouija board, I've kind of wanted something similar to either happen and be true. No, there's no either to that. I wanted something to happen like that and be true.
Yeah.
So even if this one was faked, then my paranormal experience didn't actually happen.
I'd love to hear your dad's comments on this. Because, his version would definitely be interesting to hear as far as what he experienced.
He's always a bit of a jokester, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if it just turned out that he was messing with us.
Staging the whole thing too.
It happened so long ago, so we'll see if he actually remembers. I'm going to talk to him about this later. So during our next podcast, if I do have a moment to talk to him about it, we'll give an update on what happened, which would be kind of interesting, I guess. But so aside from, do you know anyone else who's had any kind of paranormal?
None that I can think of. I mean, some people I know of may see, let's say, a fan, like a ceiling fan moving around on its own, or certain things moving around. But as far as like actual ghosts or figments of ghosts, nothing like that. Nothing that's gone that far. But things moving around the house, doors opening and closing on their own. Yes, I've had some friends tell me that they've had weird things happening in their homes, and when weird things start happening, you just want to leave. So, of course, you move out and you never hear from it again. So,
Was this at Alta Vista Towers again?
No. This was a while ago. I'm hearing stories from friends, and I mean, I remember one buddy of mine, not to mention any names or anything, but basically he would tell me that in the middle of the night when he would be sleeping in the couch on the living room, let's say, TV's off, and then it would start turning on and off on its own.
Well, you can do that with modern day cell phones now.
Yeah, but we're talking about in the 90s when it wasn't so easy, right? So nothing was automatic. Well, not not the settings that we have today, but like anybody could have probably like turned that TV on and off, but to get static and stuff, to see nothing on the picture, that's where it kind of got weirder, right? So, I mean,
Could it have been a faulty TV?
well, the funny thing is when you go back to it in the morning and you turn it on and then there's a clear picture, cable and everything, it's kind of like, what did happen? So, what was that? And for it to kind of turn itself on and off, or it makes it weirder, right? So,
Yeah, you showed me a video just a little while ago about that. The guy sitting in the park, or in his car.
In his car,
in
with
front
his
of a park.
kids, yeah.
That was kind of interesting.
It was definitely interesting. I mean, I wanted to see your reaction as far as your thoughts. And, I mean, you reacted just the exact same way that I did. It was just kind of like, how could you explain it? Yeah.
How can you explain it? Then we started thinking about ways that you can explain it, and you came up with the suggestion that maybe someone off camera was just pulling on this swing set with one of those invisible fishing lines or something, making it look like this thing is swinging back and forth on its own. And we'll post the video in the description just so you guys know what we're talking about. At first glance, yeah, it looks kind of freaky, but when you start thinking about what could possibly actually be happening, then it starts to kind of fall apart.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, again, YouTube is, we're on YouTube, but it's really easy for people to just fake shit these days.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it comes to things like UFOs or the paranormal or anything supernatural. But it gives people kind of a sense of wonder watching these.
Yeah.
At the same time, people are extremely gullible, but I enjoyed watching that video just because if it is real, then that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I would love to get, if it's something real, if it actually happened, if the swing set is moving on its own somehow, I would like to investigate that as scientifically as possible without an EMF detector or what other stuff do they use? Dowsing rods or something?
I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. Have you ever used dowsing rods? Have you been?
Nope.
No? Okay. Well, they're bullshit.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Explain it to me, because I'm not familiar with that at all.
Okay, well, the idea is to have, you're holding on to these two sticks in your hand, and the most common usage for dowsing rods is to find underground sources of water or streams, or usually something related to water.
Okay.
So as soon as you get close to this water source, these stick things will kind of swivel in either direction, right? We'll post a video of someone using a dowsing rod in the description again, just so everyone knows what these things look like. But a friend of mine invited me to what she called a witch's party.
Okay.
A long time ago. I think this was we were either still in high school or just graduated. So her mother had a couple of friends who identified themselves as witches, and one of their things that they did during this whole presentation that they were having was they stood with these two dowsing rods and invited people to come up, and they would kind of walk around them and try to sense where their energy field was.
Okay.
And at one point, they invited me to come up there, and I think my friend mentioned that I was interested in the supernatural or whatever. And these two witches are like, okay, can you send us some energy? So I stand there and I'm thinking, let's see what happens. So I visualize myself sending them a ball of whatever energy stuff, and these sticks just start going crazy, and everyone freaks out. So that was kind of cool. I don't really attribute any kind of supernatural element to this at all. I think maybe they were doing some kind of cold reading, and they were looking for a reaction from me at the moment when I supposedly sent them my energy, and then just moved the sticks accordingly. That's my interpretation of what happened.
Yeah.
But at the moment, seeing everyone freak out like that, it was kind of cool. Like, I have superpowers. But in reality, probably nothing.
Probably, but I mean, yeah, it's your own experience, right? So I'd have to be there to kind of I would have loved to have seen this whole thing go down, but no, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The rest of the party was great. Food was awesome, so kudos for
the witch party.
Kudos for the witch party. Great stuff. I don't know whatever happened to them. After that, everything just kind of, I guess we lost touch with The witches.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. I guess witchcraft is another one.
Oh well, I've met some medicine doctors, witch doctors, whatever you want to
Oh
call
yeah,
them.
where was it that you ran into this witch doctor guy?
Honduras. So in the jungles of Honduras, just happened to be traveling around, touring, and ran into this witch doctor and took us in to kind of give us a tour of the jungles, and it was great. It was fantastic. I mean, he offered us some medicinal stuff, and I mean, going around, it wasn't anything supernatural, paranormal, but once you take in the atmosphere and everything that's going on around you, it almost feels supernatural. But it wasn't anything extraordinary or like that. But it was definitely an experience to be roaming around on this medicinal stuff that he gave us in the jungles of Honduras.
Well, without naming the substance specifically, I think I know what you're talking about. Uh, that substance in particular has been rumored to be able to open up the third eye and give people experiences into other dimensions and whatnot. I don't know how credible that is, but everyone seems to report the same experiences while on it,
Mhm.
which is really interesting. So, like people who have not read any other experience reports, who have had no contact with other people, report the same stuff.
And let's talk about the voice that kind of tells you, well, I don't even remember what the details of it, but it's something that kind of tells you where to go or what to do.
The guide.
The guide. Yeah. Okay. Huh.
So that I have no idea what to make of that. That's this type of thing requires intense scrutiny and a lot of study. That's one of the main advantages of modern neuroscience is being able to analyze this kind of thing from a purely scientific point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that kind of research done or authorized. Back in the 70s when they were doing LSD research.
Yeah.
A lot of information came out of that until it was banned, which that's a great loss to science.
Yeah.
I would love to see people do those kind of experiments in extremely controlled settings and just see what the hell is happening in the brain when people are on these drugs.
Yeah.
Because that'd be really cool to see.
I mean, they already got sort of these super pills that kind of, enhance everything about you. I mean, do they actually work? We don't know because I mean they stopped with all this, right? So
which pills are you talking about?
I don't even remember now, but it took influence from that movie there. God, I don't remember the name of this movie, but basically, he takes a pill, enhances everything about him. He's able to remember everything from the point of birth, basically, and learns everything in an advanced way. And yeah, I mean, apparently there are things like that you can take to kind of enhance your mind, your body, and everything, but not in the same way as in the movie. Obviously, I mean that's it's the movies, right? It's Hollywood. It's the way they portray things. But yeah, no, I mean we probably could find these things, these substances, use them, and enhance ourselves. But would they actually work? We don't know because we don't have the research to prove it, right?
Exactly. So that kind of research is invaluable.
Yeah.
It's on the other hand, that kind of research is also really useful to disprove claims of the paranormal or the supernatural or anything like that.
Yeah.
But getting back to the pill thing, I think that's kind of similar to the idea that the U.S. was trying to create super soldiers using a similar method.
Yeah.
Do you know what happened to that?
No idea. I mean, it's military, right? So
Right.
They're just gonna classify everything, and that's it. Like you never hear from it again. So
Exactly. Like the military has been involved in, or supposedly been involved in weird, interesting projects. Some of which are kind of alluded to in. You've seen Stranger Things, right?
yeah, Stranger Things. Yeah, it took a very big influence on actual events. Yeah, that well, if you read them over, you're probably going to get a spoiler for the second season in case you're watching. But I'm not going to spoil anything here. But very cool stuff as far as using your imagination to kind of create entities, and having these entities, possibly be hostile. It's crazy to think that government funded research was actually doing this, right?
Yeah, like the American government funded an entire psychic operations experiment, where they would have remote viewers trying to locate enemy targets across vast distances. So like Russian spies or whatever. And there's one scene in again, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Stranger Things, but there's this one scene where Eleven is doing this remote viewing thing and spying on this Russian soldier. That kind of thing is what the government actually experimented with.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up to think about.
And why not? I mean, that's taking spy work to a whole other level, right? So,
Right.
I mean, they wouldn't even need to send their people anymore to these countries, because, I mean, you could just do it remotely from where you are. So it's like, why wouldn't they try to experiment on these things and try to make it possible? But
Right.
Yeah.
I think the whole reason they started with it is because they had intercepted intelligence from Russia saying that the Russians were experimenting with this in the first place.
Yeah, and I think there's actually a lost video from Russia that has, I don't remember her name. Must have been from 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't remember clearly, but there's a lost, forgotten video of this lady that had sort of these telekinetic, psychic powers, whatever you want to call it, and she was able to move things with her mind. And I mean, there's a video on the internet that you can probably find if you Google it and search it, that clearly shows her moving things around. And whether it was staged in a sense that, the people around her, the scientists or researchers that were, doing everything, experimenting with her to figure out how she was doing these things, whether it was staged or not, we don't know. It's a very old video, but it's a lost, forgotten one that if we can find, we'll put it on the description as well. And
I'd love to see that.
yeah, you can take a look at it for yourselves and judge for yourself whether it's staged or not as far as the video itself.
Well, that reminds me of the James Randi Foundation's Psychic Prize. I don't know if they've had this thing up for years. The idea is James Randi, the magician, will offer or will give anyone. I think it started off as $1 million.
Okay.
It may have gone up. I don't know. I haven't looked at this thing in the longest time, but he will give $1 million to anyone who is able to demonstrate psychic ability under controlled laboratory conditions. And so far, nobody has been able to demonstrate it. There have been a lot of attempted claims to it, but no one has been able to meet the criteria to anyone's satisfaction.
Well, I believe it.
So if psychics were real, why aren't there psychic lottery winners? Why aren't there psychic billionaires who are able to predict, random occurrences and then just reap in profits from it? Or, on the other hand, if psychics were real, why are they not able to prevent things like 9/11 from happening? Why are they not able to save millions of lives from being lost by using these powers? The answer is because they're all frauds. During a performance that I did, I took 2 volunteers from an audience.
Okay.
I had them sit at opposite ends of the room from each other, facing the audience.
Okay.
And I said I would tap one of them on the shoulder, and they would transmit an image to the second person. And they would both draw this image.
Okay.
And at the end of it, they reveal it's the same thing. That was a total fraud. That was a trick.
Yeah.
I tricked these 2 people into creating the same image.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was a very, very simple trick to do. I'm not going to reveal how I did it because other magicians use the same method.
Yeah.
But it's super simple stuff.
Yeah.
It's, there are a lot of magicians out there practicing mentalism, just fucking with people's heads and making them think psychic phenomena is real. But that's for entertainment. And that's completely fine because when we go into this kind of thing, we know it's for entertainment. We know that we're seeing a show.
Yeah.
I'm fine with. It's the other people who
claim that it's real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The psychics who go out there and make a profit on this shit.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the show Long Island Medium, or do you know of it?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I've never really seen the show. I know of it, but yeah. what is it? Just people go to this medium and she basically tells their life story or details certain details about people that have passed and things like that. But I mean, you see these mediums all the time.
Yeah.
Whether they're real or not. I mean, to me, I wouldn't believe it unless I was to experience it for myself, but it'd have to be very detailed. But even then, you can kind of doctor these details, do your research, and, you know, do a background check on the people that are actually coming to you. And once you do that, it makes it so much easier for you to basically stage everything from there, right? So,
Well, that's exactly it. Like they do the background checks, obviously.
Yeah, they have to.
And she uses cold reading to gauge a response from people that she's, you know, intervening with.
Yeah.
And yet she's famous, she has a TV show, she has millions now on the backs of people she's defrauding.
Yeah.
That to me is abhorrent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's all for entertainment, you know, for the people viewing it, for the people that are there. I mean, are they hired actors to kind of, you know, go through the whole thing? Well, we don't know. I mean, there could be a whole script to the whole Long Island medium, but
There could very well be. Like that could be a major part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact remains is she's making so much money off of this bullshit. That's terrible.
I'm starting to think we should start doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, you know, I know the methods, so why not?
Yeah.
But no, like that, to me, it's unethical. It's completely unethical to do
I
that.
agree, for sure.
Because these people have just experienced a massive, massive shakeup in their lives.
Yep.
They lost a loved one, or they're still grieving for a loved one who had passed on.
Yep.
And to go in and take advantage of that,
kind of exploit it and just, you know, to be making money off that. That's where, you know, the unethical comes in for me. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I cannot stand by
it's
that.
baffling, you know, and people will fall for it and they'll pay for these things just because they need that sort of comfort, you know, to kind of get past that whole ordeal that they're going through. So, you know,
of course.
if they're looking for comfort, that's probably the best way to go through it.
Well, yeah, I completely understand that they're seeking comfort by doing this,
Yeah.
right? But don't pay her money for her fraud.
And on the other side, don't exploit it either.
Exactly.
So.
Don't, just please go to counseling.
Yeah.
You know, there are services for exactly this reason.
There's grieving processes to these. I mean, there's stages that you can go through. Talk to somebody. That's always the best way. But for somebody to come out and tell you certain details of a passing or certain details of somebody that has passed, I mean, you're going too far at that point.
You're going way too far. Yeah. And sometimes it's really sad to see somebody become dependent on the medium thing.
Yeah.
You know, they see a result, they think somebody's making contact with their dead relative on the other side, and they keep coming back to the medium. They keep coming back to the psychic and giving them more and more money, and that's terrible.
Yep.
That is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
My heart breaks for these people. Like they may be getting some kind of comfort from it, but it's been proven. It's been completely proven that the methods these psychics and these mediums are using are 100% fraudulent.
Yes, of course.
There is no doubt about that. Like there is absolutely no doubt that these people are frauds.
Yeah, I mean, it's like false prophets almost, right?
There have been so many of those too. How many Armageddons have we supposed to have gone through?
Yeah.
The 2012 one, for example.
They even made the movie about it, and it still didn't happen. So
I think the movie was more entertaining. Which was more entertaining, do you think? People getting freaked out about the 2012 apocalypse or the movie 2012?
I think the people getting freaked out by it probably was more entertaining for me. I mean, you know, people had a different kind of vision of what would come out of that, and I mean, nothing happened, right? So
no, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. Just like nothing happened during the Y2K thing.
Y2K, yeah.
That didn't happen either.
Yeah.
Some people thought the world was going to end in 1996. That didn't happen. Do you remember the pastor who thought the world was going to end? Do you remember the date? I think it was like October of something. It just happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I really don't remember. I vaguely remember the story, but as far as dates and things, I really don't remember. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
that one, no, nothing happened.
Nothing
happened.
And he was 100% convinced that the world was going to end, and it was the rapture, and true believers would ascend into heaven, and the rest of us sinning scientists would be. I'm not a scientist, but I like science. You know what I mean. The rest of us would just be left here to rot.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Where is he now?
Where is he now? Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what's he doing now? I'd like to know what happened to this whole Armageddon that he was for sure predicting that it was going to happen, never did. What's going on? We want to
know. Where is he? Yeah. If you're out there, I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. Shoot us an email, leave a comment or something. I want to know where you are. I want to know what your next prediction is.
Yeah.
How did you come about this prediction in the first place? It was some kind of weird calculation about in the Bible, he counted the number of begats or something and came up with a random number of how old the universe or the Earth is supposed to be.
Yep.
Or something. I don't even know. It was,
And that's just like the other posting I mentioned to you earlier about Halloween falling on Friday the 13th in 666 days. People, that is false. Halloween ends on the 31st. Has always been on the 31st. So, don't believe everything you see. I think that's the moral of the story today. Just
don't believe everything you see. That's the moral of the story. And on that note, I think this is a good place to wrap it up for today. So, as always, thanks for listening. This has been Critical Junction Episode 2. I'm Mark.
I'm Jose.
And we will catch you again next time.